Good evening, I'm John Eggins. Thank you for joining me for PNG Tonight, the NBC's current affairs program. In this new half an hour, we're talking to the newsmakers and bringing you stories that you want to hear about. Tonight we catch up with the Prime Minister, Peter O'Neill, as he talks about what's happening now and what he sees for our future. And we discover PNG's own snake doctor, Dr. David Williams. This amazing man of science is on the verge of helping PNG make our own snake anti-venom, saving thousands of lives. We'll hear from him and why his snake clinic needs our help. We go to Mount Hagen, where I caught up with our Prime Minister. We spoke about PNG's new infrastructure, what he sees for us in 2016, and we get an insight into what he thinks about the next general elections. Prime Minister, thank you for talking to us. As Prime Minister, there are many questions we'd like to ask you, but we'll concentrate on the Western Highlands and touch a little bit about the keynote address you gave at the Mining and Petroleum Conference, and also the law and order situation in Lae and the politics as well. But it is Mount Hagen, the opening of the Kagamuga Airport, the provincial government headquarters that is about to be completed, and the 4-lane part of the Highlands Highway. It's Christmas, early Christmas for the people of the Western Highlands.
Yes, well, thank you very much, John, and it's always a pleasure to catch up with you again, but good to catch up even more here in the Western Highlands province, and especially in Mount Hagen City. I'm glad to be here because we're to open a very important infrastructure that has been needing much needed expansion and of course upgrade of the terminal facility at Kagamuga Airport. We have just opened the international terminal there now, which will cater for both domestic and international flights. So that it can serve the growing population, not only for Western Islands but the entire Highlands region. There are close to 3.5–4 million people living in this region, and the infrastructure requirements for that population is growing every day. And it is important for governments, both future governments and current government, to continue to focus on building infrastructure that will make it easier for business, easier for our people to have access to services like health, education. So that is why we are focusing on infrastructure for Western Islands, particularly Mount Hagen City and the Highlands Highway.
Let's go back to the airports, Prime Minister. Kagamuga indeed an international airport, 70 million kina. But for the Highlands region, there's also Kundiawa and Goroka airports to be developed.
Yeah, at Kundiawa, we're working on a relocation program. The governor and the provincial government are looking at possibility of relocating the Kundiawa airport because the Kundiawa town itself is very small, and the business community require more land for expansion. And of course, they also have access to Goroka. We've just recently agreed with a dispute that have been having with some of the landowners on the extension of that airport. So now that extension is coming, we are going to build a new terminal there as well. But this is much needed for the population. Population is not stopping, it's growing every day.
Complementing that is the Highlands Highway, a major road link in the country. Developments or reconstruction is happening from the Lae side up. Now it's the 4-lane in Mount Hagen, part of an ongoing redevelopment to revitalize this national asset.
Today we are launching the construction of the 4-lane highway from Kagamuga to Mount Hagen City to Keltiga. And that's 14 kilometers of a part of the Okuk Highway, National Highway, which is going to make easy expansion of the Mount Hagen City and easy travel of people between the airport and within the city limits. And Mount Hagen City is coming to almost a halt because of the increased number of cars, increased number of people. We need the expansion, and that is why government is going to launch that today. In terms of the Highlands Highway, I want to assure our people in the in the Highlands provinces, that we have secured 500 million US dollars, which is close to 1.6 billion kina, which we will start using. First, we will attack the Simbu section of the very difficult terrain that we all know. That is the landslips that happen because of the instability of the soil over there and the geology around the Simbu province. So we are going to start that construction in the coming year. So our people are designing it. We are ready to appoint a contractor. We will continue to expand on it.
When you say you've secured funds, where is it coming from?
We've approved, the ADB has approved the funding of 500 million US dollars already from Asian Development Bank. So Papua New Guinea has got that loan on concessional terms for us to rebuild the Highlands Highway.
So you said when becoming Prime Minister after the elections that infrastructure in the country will get about 12 billion kina over the next 5 years. You're into the third term as government and as Prime Minister. How have you spent that money? Are you into that fund that you've said you will?
Well, right now we are close to spending almost over 7 billion kina in infrastructure. Whether you look at airports, whether you look at seaports, the work that we have done in Leh, the works that we are doing with a jetty rollout program all across the country, the work we are doing, the upgrading of the airports all throughout the country, the major road infrastructure investments that we are doing, the rebuilding of Port Moresby City roads, the rebuilding of Leh City roads, expansion of the Port Moresby City Wharf. All these add up now as well over 7 billion kina that we have continuing work that is going on. And I think that we will come close to the 12 billion by the time we finish 2017 before the election. We might come short because the revenues have come down. LNG revenues have come down because of things that are beyond our control. We are not able to receive more money because the global commodity prices have come down, resulting in revenue to everybody, not only PNG. Revenue to PNG's government's petroleum and mining tax have come down as well. That's why the revenue is short, but we are going to keep to our priorities because of cutting spending, unnecessary spending on other government expenditures. We are going to defer non-priority items and focus on infrastructure, education and health as being our top priority in the country.
Yes, Prime Minister, and that was part of your keynote address to the Mining and Petroleum Conference recently. Given the low world prices for our export commodities and the situation out there, you expressed optimism about Papua New Guinea, how we will come out of this. Where is that optimism coming from?
Well, Papua New Guineans have to realize that PNG is still the fastest growing nation in the world. Over 10% economic growth this year. It will come down slightly next year because the global economy is in recession and global growth has slowed down. But that growth of 8 or 9% is no other country in the world except China and India achieving that. So even though we are living in a globally depressed circumstances, Papua New Guinea's growth is still been maintained because government has picked up the slack. We are spending more money in education, we are spending more money in health, we are spending more money in the districts and the provinces, we are spending more money in infrastructure. That spending of that kind of money keeps food on the table for many families because employment continues. People are still employed. People are not being forced out of jobs. If they are forced out of one sector, like the mining sector, they can move into construction sector because they have the expertise to do so. So government has got no choice but to continue to invest in infrastructure so that people still continue to get employment. We still need the infrastructure to grow our economy. We still need the infrastructure to make sure that our services, health, education, people doing small business, they need that infrastructure. So I think that's why we need to be optimistic about our country's future, that we have a bright future ahead of us. We should not be focused on the small negativities in the country where, because of self-interest, because of politics, kind talk backside, kind gossip, plan the Geman Totok, legal truth. But we all have eyes. We see what's going on. We are all not blind.
the Prime Minister talking to me in Mount Hagen. We'll be back with more of this interview after the break.